Good morning, everybody. So my name is Ben Dimond from Mediaworks. Yeah, it's working, brilliant. So this image behind us is where we got the water from, the water bottles you're drinking from today. I'm of course joking, that came out of the tap. But actually, this is a picture of a beautiful Norwegian fjord, which isn't a totally random image that we just sort of stole off Google. Actually, Opera Mediaworks is a subsidiary company of Opera Software, which is a Norwegian mobile browser company. We at Opera Mediaworks are the advertising arm of the Opera Group. Some of you might have known us before as full screen advertising. Some of you still might know us as full screen advertising. Well, we sponsor great big events such as IAB Mobile Engage to sort of raise the awareness of the Opera Mediaworks brand. And one day, hopefully, people are going to call us that. We'll carry on trying. Just a bit of background for those of you who aren't so familiar with Opera Mediaworks. We are a mobile-specific advertising platform. So as some people are becoming mobile first more and more, we've always been sort of mobile only. In terms of scale, we have 1 billion users globally that sit on our platform. And just to add a bit more context to that, in 2014, just under 20% of the global ad spend came through Opera Mediaworks in some capacity. So hopefully that gives you sort of an idea that, we sort of know what we're talking about. We have a good sort of wealth of knowledge and insight. I'm just going to start by showing you a quick video. So there we have the wonderful Apple Watch. Has anyone actually rushed out and bought an Apple Watch? Anyone in the auditorium? Got a few hands, some early adopters. Our managing director, Mark Slade, actually rushed out immediately and went and bought one of these things. He's not great with new technology, so as for those of you who know him will probably understand. I think the only thing he can do on it is tell the time, ironically. He's also got a smart kettle and a smart tennis racket like the Nadal one we saw earlier. Doesn't know how to use any of these things, but he's poised, ready for a connected future. The Apple Watch has got sort of split opinions in our office. Some people think it's a fantastic piece of tech. Other people not quite sure where it's going to fit into their lives. But I think the one thing is for certain that pieces of technology like this are going to be a huge part of our future. And we as marketeers, a room full of marketeers, are all sort of very interested to work out how we're going to be able to use these pieces of technology to help us communicate with potential customers in the future. But as a twist, I'm not actually going to talk about that at all today. What I want to talk about is actually what we just saw. And that was a great piece of branding delivered through a very powerful vessel, which is video. When I started at full screen advertising 4.5 years ago, the way in which we could get across a brand message was a 320 by 50 animated GIF banner. Sometimes not even animated, depending on the site we were putting on. But now, of course, we're very lucky because we have sort of a much, much more powerful medium in the form of video. And that sort of really opens up doors for branding. I'm not going to sit here and talk about sort of all the different stats around mobile video growth, because I'm sure most of you know that anyway. And there is actually just one stat that sort of caps it all off, I think, and that's from our friends at the IAB, which says, in terms of ad spends, mobile video was up 196% year on year. So I think that just shows that mobile video really is the sort of the driving force behind mobile advertising. And at Opera Mediaworks, we believe in it so much, so we believe in the strength of video, that we've invested just over $300 million in a mobile-specific video advertising company. That's going to give us, hopefully, a real sort of stronghold in this growing part of the market. But we're not the only people who believe in it. The big networks and publishers such as Facebook and Twitter and the like, all starting to use video as their preferred method to monetize their mobile inventory and help brands connect with their users. Brands are now sort of starting to work out how they can speak to users on these sort of smaller screens. And video can be a really, really great way to do that. However, since we've sort of come into this particular part of the market, we've had a little look around, and some brands aren't getting it quite right. And when you don't get it quite right, this can happen.
I think the 5 to 6 second clips that you get on videos, they're alright, but the ones that are 30 seconds long from my videos, guys, they're really annoying.
I don't mind it so much as long as it shows up really quick. If it takes too long to load, then I'm going to click out of the app, I'm going to close it and get out of it and stop paying attention.
Well, it kind of gets in the way of what I want to do on my phone, to be honest. It seems to pop at the wrong moments.
I think they're shit.
Mobile video is a genuine game changer, giving you access to inspirational and quality content wherever you are, just like this.
So that's the famous John Mew, ladies and gentlemen, showing that he'll say whatever you want in a presentation for a mere 20 quid. I'll get you after. So this is our challenge, guys. Generally, I hate to say it, but people don't really like advertising. And they really don't like advertising when you get it wrong. And they really, really don't like advertising when you get it wrong on their smartphone, which is a very personal device. So you can imagine how pissed off they're going to be if we get it wrong on their wearable technology in the future. And so this is sort of what we want to talk to you about with you today, is mobile video and how not just to repurpose, rethink. We think that the mobile platform itself is its own specific platform. So when you're wanting to run mobile video and wanting to run it well, you need to consider mobile as its own platform, not just repurpose what's worked from you elsewhere. And I want to talk about three specific things today. First of all, the relevancy of the ads, getting the ad in front of the relevant user. Second of all, the quality of the ad. And third of all, the length of the ad. So this quote here from Mandelbrot, I think works actually quite well for advertising, because I think it's so true to say that if you can get the right ad in front of the right user at the right time, then it's going to work so much harder. So the ad's going to work much, much harder. But first of all, we have to work out who the user is. Okay? So you're going to have to bear with me on the next clip, because I do have a point.
We're going streaking! Yes!
And the point is, we don't need to use old school methods for trying to work out where audiences are. That and my managing director bet me 50 quid I can get that clip in this presentation. So, yes, quid's in. But yeah, we don't need to, in traditional media, we're using surveys and polls and ways to sort of work out how users were behaving. But actually, today, in a digital world, we can be much more sophisticated to working out sort of who a user is down to an individual. And we do that using data. And I think it's quite well known now that users would rather see a relevant ad than a non-relevant ad. I can't remember the stat, but I think it's around 75% of users when asked. But I think what's more interesting than that is that users are starting to understand and sort of be happy to have behavior tracked in order to see relevant advertising. And Simon Hampton actually sort of touched on this slightly earlier this morning. Of course, we've been tracking behavior in a digital world for quite some time. And online, we tend to be doing this using cookies.
Contraband check. What are these?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I don't know how they got there.
Well, I think you do know.
No, Derek was in here earlier. He was making the beds. He probably put them, I was in the John. You guys are Nazis, man! You're freaking Nazis!
In a digital world, we're all a little bit addicted to cookies. Okay, so we're addicted to cookies, maybe a slightly different cookie from our friend here, the Cookie Monster. But essentially, cookies work so well in desktop advertising. But actually, in the world of mobile, they don't work quite so well. One of the reasons is you can't drop cookies in app. And we spend so much of our time in app, it causes a slight challenge. There are actually technologies and solutions out there now where we can cross-device map. So what we can do is we can say with a certain level of certainty that this laptop and this smartphone belong to the same user. So we can start to bring all that sort of cookie data, or the behavioral data that we've known from an online background, and move it over to help us target on our smartphone. The question I have about that is, are we doing it the right way round? You know, does the behavior that we can pick up on a user online, is that telling us the sort of the full picture about a user? You know, if you take me, for example, and what I'm doing on my laptop, which is generally I'm using it for work, I'm sending emails, going on tech sites for work. In my lunch break, Facebook and booking holidays and maybe filling out forms that I wouldn't necessarily want to do on my phone. On my phone, however, so on my iPhone, when I'm using that, I'm listening to music. I'm sort of using Map My Fitness. I'm sending videos and I'm sending sort of tweets and things to friends. I'm potentially catching up on some sport content on the go. These are all things that I don't do on my desktop. So to not know that about me is to not know sort of the full image. And so we really need to use mobile-specific data as a way to complete that puzzle. And luckily, there is a real wealth of mobile data out there. You just need to know where to look. Because sometimes appearances can be deceiving. Even though I might, on one hand, be a high school chemistry teacher, on the other hand, I'm a massive meth cook. So I guess my point here is we don't want to sort of repurpose the way in which we use data just because that's what we know and what we love. We need to rethink how we use data, including mobile data, to help us give us the best picture of who a user is, and that's going to give us the best way that we can get the relevant ad in front of the relevant person. So the next thing is just quality. Now this question, funnily enough, is a question that we're actually very rarely asked, which is, how's my video ad actually going to look on a mobile device? I guess one of the reasons we're not asked it is because generally people think, well, it's probably going to look okay, it's going to look good. It's not always the case. And in terms of how we think it should look, you know, for all the brand managers and CMOs out there today, this is how we believe you're signing off your latest ad creative, okay? You're invited to a plush hotel suite by your creative agency while you quaff back Hendrix and tonics and watch your latest ad creative on a 4K Ultra HD widescreen. And you're grinning ear to ear because it's an absolute advertising masterpiece. In reality, this is what some users on a mobile device, and this is how they're going to see your ad. The spinning wheel of doom that we've all seen many times. And when it finally does load up, it might look a bit like this. Choppy, grainy, blurry video. A real country mile away from what you signed up. But this is the thing, guys. We're trying to load, that HD experience that you have signed off over sometimes a wireless network connection, and sometimes that science doesn't really add up. Great on TV and cinema and on fixed line internet, but on a mobile device that might not necessarily work. But we live in a world of technology, and in mobile we live in a world of innovation. And as usually with mobile, innovation comes in the form of these little puppies, apps. So in-app technology now, as it tends to help us sort of figure out most things in mobile, in-app technology allows us to instantly play video. So the user never has to wait for anything to buffer, which is the optimum experience, right? But it also will play it up in HD. And it's win-win because this is where we as users are spending the majority of our time. And just to show you sort of the difference between running using this technology to instantly play a video and potentially trying to load a video over an internet connection, say into a mobile web environment. That's the difference, right? And we did a study in the US that said after 8 seconds, we lose 80% of users while waiting for the ad to buffer. I'm sure probably some of you as well, but I'd be one of those users. I hate waiting for things to buffer on my phone. So this is the point, okay? So if we're going to run mobile video, need to sort of rethink how we're running it. Don't just run it as we run it elsewhere. Really rethink and use the innovations that are at hand in order to keep hold of those users and show them the asset in the way it was meant to be seen. And so the last thing to talk about is the length of the video itself. So some quite wise words here from Blaise Pascal. And it's really true, I think, this. When I originally wrote this presentation and read it through, it's like 45 minutes long. It's not, don't worry, I've shortened it down a little bit. And I think this is it. If we have sort of longer to do things, we're able to sort of make it shorter, but it takes some time, it takes some effort. But in a mobile world, we know this. We know that users' experience on a mobile device are much, much shorter. And in advertising, it really needs to follow that as well. So some science has been put behind it by the chaps down at TubeMogul who released these results recently. And they looked into the correlation between how long the video asset was, the video pre-roll was, and how many people were watching it to its entirety. I think unsurprisingly, as the video asset got longer, the less people finished it. But I think what's really, really interesting about this is the difference between desktop and mobile. As the video asset got longer on mobile, the fall-off was much more dramatic. We as users don't want to watch long video ads on our mobile devices. We actually, in the US, at Opera Mediaworks, we ran a very similar sort of project to this called the Short-Form Video Project. So what we did is actually we went out to brands and so we're telling them about this. You know, you need to start to think about shorter form video content, also video advertising. And we want to help. So we actually put our money where our mouth is, and we put up $1 million to help contribute towards the creative costs and the media costs, and get brands to start to make shorter form video ads, and then we can run them and compare them to their longer form standard 20s and 30s and what they were used to. We work with some really great brands, as you can see up on the screen. I'm going to show you just a couple of creatives that, to give you an idea of how these short form video ads looked. So this was Carl's Jr., they make hamburgers, and this was around their Super Bowl ad campaign. So just using a few seconds here, there's a slightly more tongue-in-cheek, as you'll probably see, way to sell burgers. I'm literally not allowed to say anything about that slide, so I'm going to move on. For Adidas, using a sort of slightly more serious creative here, using Pharrell was in their campaign creative. Again, just a few seconds.
I'm not a superstar.
So to give you an idea of the sort of campaign creatives that were being made by the brands. And so we ran these out and compared them to the longer form video, and this is what we learned. Generally, the ads that were under 15 seconds performed the best. It was always best to try and grab the attention of a user as soon as possible. I think that's pretty obvious. But I think that what that points out is that you need to create specific video assets for a mobile device where that user concentration span is going to be shorter. And while sound is great, it's best not to rely on it because it might not always be the best user experience. And the proof was in the pudding, really, with engagement rates. When we were comparing the short-form video to the non-optimized video, we were seeing engagement rates go up 200%. But these are American stats, and we want our own stats, of course. So today, actually, we're launching the Opera Mediaworks short-form video fund for EMEA. So actually, we're announcing that today. We'd really love brands to come and get involved. And again, we're putting our money where our mouth is on this because we'd like to help contribute to this and help fund some of the media costs and some of the creative costs so that we can show the benefits of running shorter form video in comparison to the more traditional video that you run. And hopefully, together, we can start to understand that this is a much a better way to practice video on a mobile device. So any brands out there that think this would be good for them, please come and see us at the Opera stand in the next break. Alternatively, you can email shortform@opera.com, and we'd be glad to speak about it in a bit more detail. And just before I go today, I just want to leave you with one thing. Years and years and years and years ago, when the internet first came about and the media industry was scratching their heads saying, how are users going to be consuming content online, on this new thing online and on their desktops? And some people thought this was going to be the solution. We all knew and loved magazines, and we were used to turning the pages of magazines, and that was a great user experience on offline. So some people thought, let's just take that and plop it on a screen, and that will work great. I think we can all say today that it's probably not the preferred method of content consumption online. And I guess what I'm trying to say is just because something worked really, really well over here doesn't mean it's necessarily going to work on a new media platform. And in the same way with mobile video, it's not enough really just to think, well, I know it works in cinema, TV, maybe even online, so it should work on mobile. We need to rethink how the mobile experience is and what the innovations are out there in order to run the best video campaigns on a mobile device. Because we believe that what the industry is going to need for the future is relevant, fast-loading, shorter video, whether it's today on a user's mobile phone or tomorrow on their wearable tech. Ladies and gents, it's been really great to come up and speak to you today. Thank you very, very much.